If you're looking to make money from the markets, well, you're in the right place. We focus on crypto, high probability technical analysis, whether you're a newbie or if you're quite experienced. I'm here to show you and be your guide. Now, today is part 10 of a 10-part series where we've been focusing on what's really highly probable with Bitcoin over the coming weeks and months, if not years. But today we're going to dive into the dollar and the dollar index because they tend to have the inverse relationship. When the dollar is overall increasing in strength, Bitcoin tends to be falling. And when Bitcoin or the dollar is falling in strength, Bitcoin tends to increase overall in a macro. And there's some really important insights and updates with the dollar and the dollar index that we want to be aware of that could impact the crypto markets and supports our case for a bullish, massive run over the coming years. And we're talking about 2025, 2026, 2027, and even to 2028. So like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and let's dive straight in. So quick recap with our 10-day series. We said we've been in a bear market since November 2021, but recent times we've had this nice surge. We anticipate a correction towards the end of March, and then we anticipate a big correction with Bitcoin. So a big move to the upside to Bitcoin, and ideally going into a 5-wave sequence, possibly in the months, like literally the months ahead, hitting 50,000. But what I want to focus on today is the dollar index. Because if it's true that the inverse tends to be true with Bitcoin and dollar, if we can see what's happening with the dollar and what's likely to happen over the coming years, that can give us a real indication of what's likely to happen with all markets, especially crypto. Now, before I dive into the dollar index, make sure you're taking advantage of my free Bitcoin weekly report membership area. It's basically timely information when new things happen with Bitcoin that we want to be aware of. Reversals, where we should be looking to buy, sell, hold, take profits, but also as an indication for the rest of the market. So this is free. Check it out. It's in the link below. So with the dollar index, what we want to be aware of, first of all, is markets tend to move in 5s and 3s. If you've been watching me for a while, you know and heard me say that a million times. And with the dollar index, it looks like we've had this pretty clean wave 1, wave 2, nice impulsive 3, looks like a corrective wave 4, and this impulsive move finish in a wave 5 or wave 5. I'm going to zoom into this because there's some key dates I want you to be aware of. And I'm already got in my diary, and it's dates well into the future. Firstly, when a price overlaps into the former wave structure, so this is a former wave structure, and the price goes into this range, and we've also taken out these swing lows, it's a nice, strong indication that this top for the index, dollar index, is going to hold. So it's likely that we've seen the top for the dollar index, and we're really going to see mainly sideways to down as a macro picture. And this really supports our case when we're looking at Bitcoin. Because when we zoom in over here, what we've had recently with the dollar, and I'm just going to focus on this part of the market. If I can pull it in, let's pull it in. Let me just make sure that's in play. Is we seem to have had this nice, it's called a wave 5 or wave 5. 5 have moved to the upside. We've had this first impulsive leg down. And now what we anticipate with the dollar is that we're going through some type of correction with the dollar index. And again, we won't need to focus that much on the price itself. It's more that short term, the dollar over the month or next month, 6 weeks or so, is likely to increase in strength. But we shouldn't see it exceed this high. And then what I'm going to really show you, which is so fascinating, is that we're likely to go on a multi-year downward trend where the dollar is going to lose a lot of strength, which is going to impact a lot of markets, including crypto. So what I want to show you, I've drawn these on already, and it's using the same things that we used in the Bitcoin 10-part series. We went into a lot of detail on momentum, pattern, price, time, macro, intermediate, micro, and we're going to use the macro parts for the dollar index. So when I'm looking at this, and we're looking at this 5-wave move to the upside, well, what typically occurs as a minimum after a 5-wave move? well, it's a three-wave correction. Actually, I'm just going to get rid of the price data for a second because I know it's quite noisy. What we have over here, and what I want to emphasize, if I can get this to be just like this, is what we're likely to see with the dollar. So this is the live price, so you can see it just so you know. That's the recent price. Is we are likely to see for a number of years as a minimum that the dollar is going to do some type of A, B, C correction as a minimum. Because after a 5-wave move to the upside, typical minimum is a 3-wave correction. So what does that mean? Well, the dollar, if it loses strength, it means Bitcoin is going to gain strength, right? Because it tends to have the inverse relationship. That's what we found over the last decade or so. So when I'm looking at this, what I anticipate, and I want you to be aware of, let's just focus on the immediate time horizon, like literally this year in particular. If we do end up getting some type of A, B, C correction with the dollar index, and we do get a continuation to the downside, well, the next leg to the downside is likely to be quite aggressive. And these two ratios we want to be aware of over here. And how long? Well, it will normally be a relationship with the former trend to the downside. So you'll notice that we're literally doing the same thing that we did for Bitcoin. And I just want to give you some of these key dates because it just coincides with what we anticipate is likely to happen with Bitcoin. So over here, we'll keep it quite broad, is that we're likely to see the dollar index do something like this. Now, if that happens, that money has to go somewhere. And a lot of it is probably going to find itself in cryptocurrency. And over the coming year, 2023, 2024, 2025, that's going to play a massive role. Now, we will have corrections in between, but what we're talking about here in terms of dates is July 2023 to September 2023. Well, isn't it interesting that that's literally the inverse and the same, but the price is up with Bitcoin of these dates? There's a massive crossover. Now, it won't be identical, but there will be a massive correlation, and we want to be aware of that. And we can use that information to go, okay, we've got strong reason to believe we're going to not immediately, but towards the end of March, going into April, going into May, and if it really starts to take off, that it's probably going to last 3, 4, 5, 6 months. There will be some corrections in between. So these will be corrections which are natural and healthy. Then there'll be longer corrections before we see the next move. And with Bitcoin, it will look to be the inverse. So there you have it. So that was the 10-part series on Bitcoin, the macro intermediate. And I really wanted to finish on the dollar index for us to be aware of this because it has had this surge on a downward movement. And we are in this correction. And this is highly probable. We can never guarantee it, but we can look at high probability. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Do make sure you've seen all the 10 parts because we broke down a lot of detail. And today, let's finish with a quote. We've done 10 quotes from Socrates, and today's one is, to move the world, we must move ourselves. Be the difference that you want to see in the world and grow as an individual. So whether it's spiritually, energetically, whether it's just trading and knowledge, to make a difference to others, you first need to make a difference to yourself. And it's just consistency, and more consistency. So hopefully you've enjoyed this 10-part series. Make sure you get the Bitcoin report, follow this channel, and I'll see you in one of my live workshops very soon.